Hi there, and welcome to Ask the Unicorn. I'm sorry, we have the heater on because it's really cold here, and my heater sounds like a '68 Rambler. So, so you caught me turning it off just before. I'm Ahura Z, and this is Charlie Alejandro.
Hi everyone, hope you're having a good evening.
And we are here to answer your paranormal, mystical, magical questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would once again ask people that, we have children that are watching. And I'm not going to shut those children out because someone wants to ask an adult content type of a question. I'll answer all of your questions. However, if you could, keep them so that everyone can understand them and everyone can benefit from them, even the children. Thank you very much. Without further ado, what do we got this time?
Well, while we're waiting for the questions to queue up, I wanted to ask you a question. What does it mean when you keep dreaming about babies or childbirth?
That usually means that there's a beginning, a new beginning, okay, or someone's pregnant.
Well, around my family, it could be anybody.
But that's usually what it's one or two things. Either there's a brand new beginning of something, someone has conquered something, and has given birth to a brand new portion of life. Okay, so babies usually equal beginning, depending upon the manner of the child.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that someone is pregnant, it could mean that.
Doesn't necessarily mean that, but there's a pretty good possibility.
Okay.
Now, another thing, if we're going to speak about dreams like that, one of the dreams you can look at is things that have to do with seed-bearing fruit, like pumpkins, pomegranates. Those are usually a surefire sign of pregnancy.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Usually really surefire.
Well, I'll try not to have those dreams. We have a question that says, I know that animals have souls. How are they different from human souls? And do you think any animal can evolve to our present level? I know that dolphins and whales are very special and actually more intelligent than humans. I consider them people. Are there any other animals on this planet that you would consider on that level as people?
Any animal as big as me.
I give them respect.
Actually, those are different kingdoms that you're talking about. I know that people really like to believe that dolphins and other things are as intelligent as people. I can't speak to that one way or another. However, when it comes to the animal kingdom and the human kingdom, I think that you're talking about a completely different evolutionary structure. So we can't really gauge what we think. We can't really gauge the evolution of animals by what we want them to be or what we think. You know, I've spoken to so many people that have said things like, well, I believe that the dolphins are the dolphins and the whales are the whales, and that they both live in the water. And
they're not undercover.
Yeah, and I know that I have an affinity with dolphins. Well, that's great. And you may indeed have an affinity with one of these particular types of animals. That does not mean you're going to be one in your next life, nor does it mean that one is going to turn human in their next life. It merely means that you have an affinity for that particular kingdom. Now, as we can all hear in the background, that's Westport's finest that is doing the job.
Yeah.
And because it's a very cold night, that means it's very icy. But understand that you need to give up what we think of animals and just treat them like spiritual beings. Like you did say, they do have a soul. They really do have a soul. And they do have a spirit. And that soul and spirit may be differently aspected than we are. That doesn't mean that they're any less than we are. It merely means they're different.
So when you say these animals have souls, is there a place for them in the afterlife?
Of course there is. They have their own reincarnation structure. The same as we do. They may become another animal. I remember one time I was looking out my window and I swore I saw a cat and a pigeon walking together.
Yeah.
And I looked and I said, there's no way. And I shook my head 2 or 3 times. I made sure that there was no paranormal cobwebs, things like that. And what I was seeing was the actual, because I do that, I was seeing the future life of this particular animal. At some point in time, it was going to be a cat. And I thought it was the oddest thing to see a bird and a cat walking together.
Right.
But it was what it was. And then finally, as they got closer, I said, oh, I see. That particular animal is going to turn into something else. Just like we humans have our own structure. Now, if you wake up and you're a rat one day, you did something wrong. But on the whole, those are different kingdoms. You don't have to worry about it. You may turn out to be someone who's taller, someone who's shorter. You may turn out to be female if you're male, or male if you're female, or maybe you need to learn what it's like to be a black person, or maybe you need to learn what it's like to be a black person, or a white person, or an interracial person, you know. We all have our own structures. Animals, I look at them like I look at myself, okay? No, we're not the same species. We're two different kingdoms. However, that doesn't mean that they deserve any less respect. So, you know, I have a wolf, Steel. And if you look at Steel, and he's as big as me, and you look at him, you go, how could someone just think of that as an ordinary dog? Or even Ling, my little chow, how could you look at her and think of her as just a,
right,
you know, because they live with me.
Yeah.
I mean, they eat, they sleep, they do everything that we do. And if you looked into one of their eyes, you'd actually see, and you'd go, God, you know, I know that I'm human and you're an animal, but your eyes look incredibly the same.
Ling is incredible. Sure, her eyes definitely look like human eyes. Yeah.
And you can see that. So we need to understand that all things are spiritual. Even the trees are spiritual. I know that there are a lot of people out there that turn things like that into a political thing, such as someone who doesn't eat meat, and they don't eat meat because their digestive system won't handle it. They do it as a political statement. That's great. You get other people to say, you know, things like you shouldn't use fur or leather or anything like that. And listen, if I have to use leather, I will use leather. If I have to use fur, I will use fur, although I prefer not to. I have never eaten an animal that I have met personally.
Yeah, that bugs me out. I don't want to look at anything I'm going to eat.
I always said I had to kind of bend myself. Look, I'm a carnivore. I'm an omnivore. So if anyone is expecting just because I'm a very spiritual person that I don't eat meat, that's you're sadly misinformed. Okay, meat comes from the meat store. Okay, eggs come from the egg store. My sister owns a farm. I refuse to eat any of her animals' products. And she doesn't understand why. It's because I know them. You know? So that's just kind of my philosophy. You can choose your own. But the bottom line is all things deserve respect. I have a tree outside Niela, ginkgo tree, and talk to her often. She tells me about the weather. She tells me what's going to happen with the weather, and she's right. And that's a sentient being to me. But then there are spirits that live in my home that are disembodied, that are also sentient. I speak to them the same. If you treat everyone with equal respect, guess what? You'll learn the true lesson of respect. Okay, you hear people say, well, you know, you have to earn respect. No, you don't. Listen, God respects you. He gave you breath. Therefore, you don't have to have anybody else's respect or earn anybody else's respect. You figure if God respects us enough to allow us to live, why do we need someone else's?
Exactly.
You know?
That's a good point. This is a good question. It kind of has a personal point. It says, what does it mean if you keep seeing the number 777? And that's kind of a personal thing for me. Just funny they brought it up because I was actually born at the seventh month, 7th day, 7th hour. Don't give me that look.
No. Okay, that's actually you're talking numerology. Then, if he's seeing the numbers, that means that you're resonating to that particular number. 7, which is a spiritual number, is also the number of union. Okay, which would be under the astrological sign Libra, which means that at that particular time, what you would do best is to wear the color green. You would think about things of a relationship manner, whether those things are personal or business. Okay, it's also the number of union, which would entail equilibrium and balance. Okay, now you take that, you keep seeing 777. Well, if you're seeing that, you have to go further and go 21. 3 times 7 is 21. 21 is 3, which has to do with family. That means that there's some issues in your family that need to be taken care of.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what that is.
So in my case, what does it mean? Would you give me the smirk with the 777?
No,
What does that look like?
I'm sorry. No, hey, you said 777. All I could hear was 1111. You know, is that, like, do you know about 111111? Yes, I have a student whose birthday was November 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And we celebrated it. No cataclysm, nothing. But if you're talking about 777, that's what that is, a 3 times 7, which is triform.
Mm-hmm.
That means that you need to operate on a spiritual level, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Now, since we are the 3rd planet from the sun, that applies. Mm-hmm. Also, because we live predominantly in a 3rd dimensional reality, that applies. Mm-hmm. That means that you've got your spiritual life going, you've even got your mental life going, mm-hmm. and now you have to apply something in your physical life so that it balances out. Okay. That means that in your 3rd circuit, out of 7, that means that if you keep seeing that, it needs to be addressed, which is right about here, because you've been evidently getting little twinges in there. Mm-hmm. And that's what that's about. That's the 3rd circuit, which is the psychic circuit, mm-hmm. which means it needs to be addressed. And I'll say this for this person too. You need to probably get your physical discipline on par with your mental and your spiritual discipline, or one of the 3. Okay? Remember, if you're seeing triple numbers, anytime you see a triple number, it has to do with this planet. You understand? We're the 3rd planet from the sun, which makes us number 3. Almost everything that is done here in this particular reality is done in 3s. Okay? If you think about it, even unconsciously, you will do things in 3s. Mm. Okay?
Right.
Even if you're going somewhere, you'll look left, right, and ahead. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever looks behind. It's kind of funny. You think you would, but
especially if you're in a bad neighborhood.
Yeah, you know, it's like you always have to have a 3-point stance.
Right.
In martial arts, one of the best stances you can have is a 3-point stance. Mm-hmm. Okay, and one of the strongest structures is a 3-point structure. Mm-hmm. You know, even though we like to think about, well, there's 4. Those are for people who are kind of afraid of falling. But that 3-point stance is going to give you some strength. Mm-hmm. So when you keep seeing that, that means that something in one of those areas needs to be addressed. And if you address it, it will set everything fine, everything right. That's what that is.
That's interesting. I have a question kind of going with the numerology. What does it mean if you keep waking up night after night at a certain time, like 3:13?
That means that there's a spiritual influx somewhere. Okay, and there's a lot of people that do that. I can usually tell if a person's energy is blocked by the time that they may wake up. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they are going through some form of an astral or etheric influx or attack even, based upon the time they wake up. Now, remember, we like to believe that during the day is the only time we really pay attention to, because at night after a certain time, that means we're supposed to sleep. Mm-hmm. But your body's cycle may change overnight, which means that you may all of a sudden decide that, 2:30 is a great time for me to eat some food. And you know, you may not agree with it, but your body's saying, I said I'm hungry. Okay? So all of a sudden you're up, you're wide awake, you're laying there going, why? Why am I awake?
Right.
Okay? And you're looking all around, you know, there's no ghost looming over you, there's no psychic thing that is happening, you're just awake.
Right.
Well, at that particular moment, the best thing that you can do is get up, walk around, just ground the experience, and pretty much you'll be able to go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. But if you sit there and try to ignore it, it's going to get louder and louder and louder. Anybody ever tried to meditate? Mm-hmm. Okay? You're meditating and all of a sudden this itch happens right there. Okay? And it's a little itch at first, you know, just kind of a little tingle, you know, but you're sitting there, you're going, oh, my some junk. But, you know, you have to like... You're sitting there trying to meditate and do this meditation and say, I should show discipline. And then you're going, and all of a sudden, here it is again, and it's louder. That itch has become a sting. And you're sitting there trying to go, I must be disciplined. I shall not feel this sting because it is against the rules of meditation. I cannot move. If I move, I'm going to break the meditation. Force myself to stay still. By that point, you've lost it. Mm-hmm. You know what you should do? Get back to your meditation, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know, because the rules of meditation say this: anything that is inharmonious or as an interruption of what it is that you're doing needs to be eradicated. So you just eradicate the itch. No big deal.
That makes
And
sense.
then move on. But we've set up these rules with ourselves that, I should be sleeping at this particular time. And I know all of us have had this conversation. It's like 12 midnight. I have to be up at 6. So, I'm sure I could function with 6 hours sleep. Okay? It's 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying, well, so 5 hours sleep isn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how it just seems to go out, you blink your eyes and bam, there
Yeah.
it is, 2 o'clock, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So finally it's 4 o'clock, you've got 2 hours to sleep and you still have not gotten your tail up to go get a drink of water, which is what you really want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Or get something to eat, which is what you really want. An hour and a half comes, you finally lose this battle, go get something to eat, go back and conk out and then wake up late.
Mm-hmm.
Well, had you taken care of the problem in the first place, you would be fine. You would have gotten some rest because there's a pretty good chance that you're using a lot of energy while you sleep. Remember, it even takes energy to sleep.
Right.
Okay? So if you got something to eat, got yourself some water, went and did your little thing and then went back to sleep, you would be fine. You've got to take the constraints off of yourself. If you're waking up at an odd hour like that, that means there's probably something that needs to be addressed, so get up and address it.
That makes sense. We have a question from Shelly. She says, why do I keep seeing a picture of a kitty with white face and it has gray stripes, like a tiger kitten? It keeps popping up in my head.
Okay, I'll let Charlie answer this because she knows you too.
Because you're obsessed with kitty cats?
Mm.
And you want a kitty cat for your other kitty cat?
and you're a dorkfish. This is Shelly. Shelly loves kittens. Loves them. Go get another cat if that's what you want. Go to the shelter. I'm sure there's a nice kitten there that would love to live
Or a
with you.
stray. That you really don't need an excuse if that's what you want, right?
That's what she wants. She loves cats.
The next question says, I feel like I have cobwebs all over me. My psychic friend says it's just the energies I'm feeling, but I don't like it. Can you tell me what it is, please?
If you have cobwebs all around you, then something needs to change. Okay? Your psychic friend who told you it's just the energies should be able to further explain those energies. What energies? What types of energy would make me feel as though I have a cobweb around me? What you probably have is an attachment. But if it's cobwebs, you really feel like there's cobwebs, that means something is stagnating, and you need to get it from stagnating. Okay? Maybe you need a change. Maybe you need to make some new psychic friends. Maybe you need to start developing yourself. There's something on the inside of you that needs to be developed, that the cobwebs need to be cleaned out. Also, there could be someone spinning a web around you. So, psychic self-defense is in order. Don't accept blanket questions or blanket answers. Be specific. Ask that person if they are going to operate as your psychic friend. Then you ask them, what type of energy is that would make me feel that way? I don't like it. My suggestion, go take a sea salt bath. You'll be much better. Just not too much, okay? Okay.
Is that kind of like, I know for me I have this weird phenomenon that happens. If my room gets too messy, I feel like I get pricklies and then I just have to have the room cleaned up. Otherwise it feels like there's stuff crawling on me.
Well, it's irritating you.
Yes.
That's why. It becomes irritating.
And it doesn't have to be like a mess if like it's disorganized. I just feel like they have little prickly things all over me and I have to straighten it out.
Well, you have to make things comfortable, okay? Like, I'm an artist, so you'll see stuff thrown over in the corner of your hip, but I know where it is. But if it gets too bad, I have to clean it up. It's uncomfortable. I can't produce. So people have commented on, oh, you changed your room again after 3 months. Well, it's because I can't stand stagnation. So what I will do is I'll change everything, the surroundings, everything, so that it's comfortable for me. Remember, we're always in a state of growth.
Right.
Okay? And if you're in a state of growth, and things are the same, it becomes dissonant.
Right.
So you wind up feeling as though there's these invisible bugs crawling all over you, and you go, and there's nothing really there, but you can feel it in your energy. Right. That means something must change.
That makes a lot of
Okay,
sense.
so get up, change it.
That sounds good. How do you, let's see. How do you access past life memories, and do you find these memories helpful, or do they just get in the way?
I find some of them helpful, but others do get in the way. If you really want to know how to access those, then you've got to discipline your life now. Most people want to know about past life so that they can escape the now, the here and now. But you have to deal with now before you deal with the future or the past. Remember, neither one of them are here. If you really are interested in your past lives, find out exactly what you are about now. Okay? Because remember, you're the sum total of all of your lives right now. And if you want to access those memories, which about 7 times out of 10 you really don't, okay, you just think you do because it sounds cool, you are all of that. I'm one person that remembers a lot of mine. That's fine.
A lot of other people's too.
And a lot of other people's, and I can tell them about their past lives. However, I also tell them about their future lives. That really doesn't hold a lot of water unless it's something you're willing to recreate. Okay? Perhaps you were a dishwasher like 1,000 years ago when they had dishes. Although nobody is ever that. Most people I meet are either Cleopatra, Mark Anthony, they're all Cleopatra, I've met a bunch of those. I've also met Dracula about 427 times. I've met a lot of people that were something. Yeah, rarely do I meet a janitor.
That's funny.
So we all want to be something great, and that's cool. But if you do find that you are something great, remember there's a responsibility with unlocking those. You may run into an aspect of yourself that you weren't so comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And speaking from experience, you may also run into a very frustrating past life. I've run into something that I used to have that was actually mine. Good luck convincing someone it belonged to me now. So there's a responsibility that comes with it. You may meet people from your past and think that just because you met them from your past, you're supposed to rekindle something. That doesn't mean that all the time. Mm-hmm. I met this one person that told me that he had been a Native American 1,000 incarnations. I asked him, I said, well, what did you do wrong? What are you not getting?
Right.
Seriously. I mean, I would imagine that if you have to keep repeating something over and over and over again, it was either 1, a choice. 2, you're a totally non-creative person. Or 3, you're seriously missing a lesson. It's best to learn and then move on. But that's a good question. I just want you to know there's a responsibility that comes with accessing things like that.
Is there ever a time that you would need to know that information to help you in any way?
Yes, sometimes. There are a lot of things that people have forgotten that would do good. For instance, let's say that you were a hunter and you're in a situation where you need to seriously remember that you were a hunter. Mm-hmm. You may need those, I'm oversimplifying, but you may need those particular teleplates or memories. And that's when you really want to access that. But it would be better to access all kinds of information, which is why you develop yourself intuitively and then psychically, and then hopefully that mutates into a form of telepathy so that any information is at your fingertips.
Wow, that sounds interesting. This is a good question. Is there prayer to help with an injury to help it heal faster?
Yes, there is indeed. Simply still yourself. Quiet yourself. Ask the divine to give you the power, to bestow upon you the power. Now, I always use the Christ vibration. By the power bestowed upon me by the one true God, King of all angels. And for those of you that think God is only called one thing, I have several. Elohim, Yahweh, Adonai, Allah, El Shaddai, Ahura Z. And in the name and nature of the Christ I know as Jesus, grant me this healing. Grant me the power to heal myself and all that I come in contact with. And then see that happening. Even if you have to do it bit by bit, see yourself being rebuilt. The negativity being extracted from you. And then rebuild yourself bit by bit, like a bunch of little cubes. And then say thank you. And don't allow anyone to dispute your healing. That's it. Simple.
That's interesting, yeah. Very simple.
And then, if you need help, there are plenty of healers around.
Very true. Okay, we have a question. This is from Robert, recurring dream theme. It says, religious gatherings and I are spectating. Then some random people who are part of the gathering just seem to start causing trouble and being cruel. And then I end up getting physical with them.
You are the one that should make your own choices as to what spiritual discipline you choose, no one else. And if anyone tries to force you into it, you should get away from them. Okay? Remember, one spiritual discipline or one spiritual way of life should be left up to that individual and no one else. So he was probably being perturbed by someone trying to force him to make a decision.
Right.
Okay? You don't have to. Listen, as far as I'm concerned, seriously, religion was just a way to constrict and imprison. Find a spiritual thing that you and you alone can do. That is for you. If you don't resonate with other people's beliefs, you don't have to put up with them. Just go your own way. Then there'll be no irritability.
That makes sense. This other question says, how do photos and portals relate to each other regarding entity travel?
Well, first you have to understand what a portal is. A photo can be a portal of sorts. It's more like a doorway, okay, which is what a portal actually is. An opening. Depending upon the type of opening, that could be either positive or negative. Some pictures can transmit a signal or a energy, depending upon the power of the entity who the picture was taken of. There were native tribes and some tribes around the world that believe that if you take a person's picture, it's like capturing part of their soul. Mm-hmm. I do not necessarily follow that belief. However, I will say this. People who have some bit of knowledge try to use other people's picture in order to control them. Mm-hmm. Or to cause some type of energy change in them. If that person is protected, it's a futile attempt. Mm-hmm. However, there are things that can be used as a transferent or a conduit. In order for that to happen, that person would have to have a huge amount of spiritual energy. And even then, the toll on that person for using a picture as a conduit could be immense. And depending upon their level of knowledge, it could hurt them badly.
No, that pertains to if they have bad intentions. What about these people?
Even good intentions.
So, relating to like people that do energy healing and they use photographs to direct the positive energy to heal that person, would that be the same thing?
It would be the same thing. Remember, the principles apply on both sides, good or bad. The difference is not necessarily an intention. The difference is the knowledge and the focus. There are those that have great intentions that would give up part of their own energy in order to try to heal someone, but you really can't do that. You'll give up your own personal energy, or you'll deal with that person's energy, which is what Reiki does. Mm-hmm. Reiki uses personal energy, and you can't do that. That's why I've had to fix a lot of people that went to have Reiki performed on them, and I know there are a lot of people that call themselves Reiki masters, and I'm not going to get in their way. They want to be a Reiki master that's wonderful, that have used and tried to heal other people, but then they either wind up with the malady themselves.
Right.
Or they wind up transmitting someone else's malady to that person.
Right.
You know, or the person will come and say, I felt really good when I was doing it, but then all of a sudden I just felt horrible. Well, understand that Reiki is to move energy, not to heal energy. It's to transfer energy from one place to the other. And there's a lot of different beliefs on Reiki, and I'm not going to sit and debate on them. What I am going to say is this. Once you use universal energy, which is provided to all of us in order to do something, the moment that you make it personal, it becomes personal. Mm-hmm. See? Like, remember, we all have a certain amount of energy. If you're going to use this powerful energy to heal you, realize that it has to come from a place other than myself. Okay?
Okay.
It has to come from the place that has invested in me, that I am working as a conduit for.
Right.
Unfortunately, when you get a lot of people that perform healing things, they want more credit for themselves than they do for the universe. And that's what makes it bad.
So that's the difference there. It's like if you're energy healing, you have to remember you're just being a conduit for, like you said, the universe, not something that you're doing with your own energy.
Exactly.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
And people say, "Oh my God, Z, your power." No. Remember, I had good teachers. Okay, I work for the universe. I'm their servant. I know what they want me to know when they want me to know it, and I do what they tell me to do when they want me to do it.
Right.
You know, well, what would you call yourself? A servant, if anything. That's what I am.
Right.
You know, and however people see that, that's up to them. But Jesus was a servant too.
Very true.
You know, so remember, the whole idea is to be able to heal, not to gain the credit for healing. Remember, there are people that do it for money, and that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with that personally. I mean, there has to be an exchange. And unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society, you know, where...
Exactly.
So, and I'm sure that those very same people that are charging money wouldn't charge money if they didn't have to. Well, the majority of them. There's some out there that just...
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
Because if someone came to me and they didn't have any money and they were hurting, I would fix them. Or do my best to fix them, period.
Right.
You know, and have them make me some cookies at some point or something. You know, just not too many.
Right. Yeah, you can't have that.
So, excuse me. Remember, the energy that runs us all is available to us. All we have to do is find out how to use it. And you may have to have someone teach you how to use that energy. But once you do, make sure that you use it. The more you use it, the more you get.
I like that. I remember listening to someone say that energy can't be spent, it's just recycled. It just goes out and comes right back in.
That's
and I
right.
really like that. And I liked it because he was using it in the example of currency, that people are always saying, I'm spending money. And it's like, you're not spending it. You have to have the thought that you're recycling it. You're putting it out there, and if you believe that, then it's going to come right back.
And you never just really get to hold on to it. I know there are a lot of people that want to try to hold on to it, stingy people. And decide, well, no, we're going to hold on to all of this money and not give anybody anyone. Guess what?
Yeah.
It's gonna go anyway.
Yep.
So there you go.
This is another good question. How do you know if you have a portal in your house, and how are they formed?
Portals are formed by influxes of energy, or perhaps something happened that would cause a huge amount of paranormal energy to create a portal. Or it may be a natural flow on Earth. Remember, there are positive and negative, what we like to call vortexes, or energy points, if you will. And true, they do spin. Some of them do. Some of them just go up and down. Some are just open like doors. And the Earth is full of those, which is what keeps it in a state of perpetuation. Remember that sometimes there may not be a reason. If you don't want the portal in your home, then there are ways to make sure that that goes away. However, if that portal is not causing any trouble, and it may even be helping you, find out, be aware at least to find out the nature of the portal. Don't just assume it's bad. Okay, you have people that say, oh, there was a white dove. What does that mean? You know, it's real simple. Maybe the dove was tired. You know, we always look for something other than what it is. You know what? I really find funny is I was talking to someone today, and you know, I've talked to you all about LED lights, and you know, LED lights are used to, you know, they create this brilliant light, and it simulates moonlight or sunlight. Now, in the paranormal world, or the etheric, or the astral world, do you know that a LED light can actually cut down, as I said, astral emanation? Okay? I find it really funny that a lot of these paranormal groups use LED lights to find the ghost. No.
Maybe they don't want to find them.
I think so, because what they do is they make the ghost disappear. Do you understand?
Right.
You're not going to find them with those. Okay? If you want them to go away, they should be used as a defense. To that astral emanation, using one of those LED lights is like a lightsaber. It will slice it. It will cut it down. So, all of you that are out there that may be using the LED lights to See if you can see the ghost. It's not going to work. It doesn't work. Okay, I'm just telling you. It's not going to work. Okay?
Now, just a question for, in layman's terms, what exactly is a portal and what's its purpose?
Okay, a portal is an opening. Okay?
Okay.
That opening may have a reason that something may be trying to come through, or that it just spontaneously opened.
Coming from where?
It comes from where energy comes from. Remember, the Earth has an etheric field, but that the Earth in and of itself is not just this huge fish bowl that's like floating in the cosmos. It needs to be re-energized constantly, which is why we have that big flaming ball in the middle, which constantly energizes whatever the Earth is about, right? Now, it goes in, it passes through. Maybe the Earth has a little too much energy at one point in time, so it will create a portal so that it can go out, which is also why we have vortexes, okay, so that it stays Earth.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, if there's a constant influx of energy, it will pop.
Right.
But if there's a constant outflow of energy, it will die. So sometimes these portals need to open in order to take more or to release more.
Right.
Now, depending upon the level of what we call that etheric or astral or spiritual energy, even any one of those, depending upon the level of energy at any given moment, that door will open it either to transfer something. Okay, maybe there's an energy that needs to be transferred from here to there, and the only way to get it there quickly enough is to open a portal.
Okay.
Or someone has tampered with something somewhere.
Okay.
Now, again, I know there's a lot of teenagers that believe that, well, if we do this ceremony, we can open the gate. And you, what gate? Which gate? Which gate? The gate of oblivion. Oh, the video game. No, listen, it doesn't work that simply. Do you know, in order to cause a portal to open, you have to close a portal someplace else. You can't just open one. It doesn't work that way. Cause and effect. Okay, so, it's, sorry.
Sorry, just so true.
I have a tendency to rant, so you have to excuse me. Now, I do admire the fact that there are a lot of people and young people that are delving into the paranormal. It's just you got to find the way to do it. Do you understand? Don't just make up stuff based upon the masquerade game you may be playing at the time on the computer with a bunch of other people that really have no clue. It's real simple. Gate closes, one opens, and they're not called gates. They're called just openings and closures. Like this. You inhale, right? Eventually you're going to have to exhale. Hey, if it doesn't come out here, it'll come out someplace else. It's just that way. Well, isn't that the truth? I'm making Jose over there laugh and he's trying not to. Okay, it's just that way. Well, the Earth is a body. Remember that, just like you have a body. That means it has to breathe constantly. Now, if you happen to witness one of these portals opening, remember, positive or negative, it's us that cause things to be light or dark. Remember that. Okay? It's our fault. At some point in time, we mess something up. So if you go and you tamper with something, go knock on a door that has been reported as a demon door, and then all of a sudden something answers, don't be afraid. You're the one who asked for it to answer. Okay? That means that's a portal. What you want to do is say, sorry, I screwed up. I'm closing this. Or find someone that is capable of closing it. That way another portal will open someplace else. Now, as an exorcist, we use these portals, or these things that you like to call gates. We use them to send things back to where they belong. Okay? Now, the universe does most of the work. Okay? I say the prayer, I say the incantation, I make the motions and the movements. This thing gets extracted, it gets sent back to where it belongs, and that may look like anything. I guess the main question that I will ask back at you is, why do you want to open a portal? What would be the reason? If you want to open one, you must have a valid reason. Remember, for everything that is done, there is an effect.
Now, these portals that we're talking about, when you said that it's because there's an exchange, is it only energy exchange or can it be tangible items?
It can be tangible. Listen, you want to see a good portal? Anybody ever seen a whirlpool? Whirlpool?
Right.
That's a portal. I went to this place that was called the Devil's Tramping Ground. That was a portal. The Bermuda Triangle, what is so famous, that's a portal. It's a magnetic point, and it is a doorway. However, that doorway opens randomly, and it really has nothing to do with anything that is planned, unless there's something on the other side that's planning it. And I have my suspicions about it. However, if you're really wanting to know different portals, perhaps at some point in time, you'll seek me out and I'll take you to where a few of them actually are. Not that you can do a whole heck of a lot with them, and since I'm not the one that was told to, and since I wasn't invited to close it, I have no right to do so. Or to open it, for that matter. A portal can open in any place at any time. It's just, it depends upon the manner of spiritual energy, what type of act was formed. For instance, they're talking about rebuilding, or they've been rebuilding something over at the Ground Zero World Trade Center.
Yes.
That's a huge portal, and that's not a very good one. That's not a very good one at all. The company that would actually be formed upon that thing would actually be something that would be, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to replace it with positivity, and that's great. That's awesome. But that positivity won't last there. They would have to do something that was malevolent, or just turn it into a graveyard or a park. Okay?
Right.
So that it could
like they did in Oklahoma.
Yeah, so that it can heal itself.
Right.
Okay, it has to heal itself. I saw that just after that happened. Oh my God, that was horrible.
Yeah, I was up there too, like a month later? Like
It was horrible.
It was.
They'd have to turn it into something that would be healing. And you know, one of the most healing places that there is a graveyard. You know, so all you people that are dressed in black that go out there to do seances or whatever you do, stop. Hallowed ground, holy ground, hallowed ground. That means that you people are going in the wrong direction. Seriously, just stop it. Stop the madness. Don't occupy the graveyard. Okay, just let it be. And if anything, go there, clean some gravestones off, deliver some flowers, and you know something. You may be fortunate enough to actually see a portal. Graveyard in and of itself is that, and it's supposed to be for positivity.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
This is another question that's interesting. Are injuries a consequences? Are injuries a consequence of negativity rupturing a person's energy?
Sometimes, yes.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
We each have an energy reserve, like a gas tank.
Okay.
Okay, you know what happens when that gas tank gets low?
I get cranky.
Yeah, it activates the fight or flight mechanism, and sometimes if that is ignored, it can cause an injury because your energy is not high enough.
Okay.
Okay, which brings to light one of the books I might recommend for you to read is the Celestine Prophecy, and you get a full,
Love that.
Yeah, and that's what it's about.
Reading it, I love that book.
I read that book many, many years ago. I won't say how many, but I read it a while ago, and it talks about the fact that we each have an energy reserve, which I could always see in people. That energy reserve goes down as you use it. Okay. Now, what happens is the same thing that happens in your car. The little signal comes up and says, "I need gas." Well, it's the same thing. Now, you have a choice. You can either separate yourself and go fill your gas tank, or you can just keep ignoring it. And the chances are you're going to either suffer an energy drain or an injury. Or else you'll wind up getting into an argument. Something bad will happen that may or may not have anything to do with you, excuse me. But it does definitely have to do with the energy that is around you, and maybe the energy that you're working with. My suggestion would be for you to separate yourself from what it is that you're doing. Take a break. Refuel yourself. Get your energy centered again. And then go back. Remember that fight or flight mechanism will react. There are people who fight, and there are people who run. You get someone who's very, very paranoid, and they'll go and close themselves up in a box.
Right.
And then you get the person who's just angry at everybody and everything. Just to, who said blue had to look like that? And they walk around with this face that looks like constantly, Me, I never do that.
Yeah, right. He couldn't even keep a straight face on that one.
But you have to separate yourself. It can cause some injuries. It's kind of like if you know that you're not supposed to be jumping over that little thing in your motorcycle. Don't do that. Okay, if you know you feel bad about it, that means you don't have the energy. So don't do it.
Now, can that also account for the fact that, all right, like let's say firemen, Because they're constantly in that negative environment and stuff. There's common injuries like high blood pressure and heart disease and certain types of cancers. Can that also be a result of all that negativity that they're around?
It can indeed, and they're not rested properly.
Right, because of their schedules.
Yeah, and I listen. You fire people, if anyone is listening. I admire your jobs. I admire what you do. I just say you guys have got to take care of yourselves.
Right.
You know, and if you have families, look, that family's supposed to be healing time. You know, so spend some time there. Don't just rush out to go sliding down a pole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and go running to put out the big fire. You know, most of the things in Westbrook are made of brick. So I don't know whether firemen go back and forth all the time. You know, but they have a reason.
Right.
People that are in those kinds of professions seriously need to take care of themselves, especially cops. You know, seriously. Or excuse me, policemen.
Mm-hmm.
And policewomen.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Meow. You know, just seriously need to take care of yourselves. Okay, I understand you're trying to uphold the law, and even when you all get tired, you get gripey. You just start mishandling yourself, and then later on you go, I really didn't need to do that.
Right.
If you take care of yourself and allow your energy to heal itself, you'll be fine. It can cause a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of problems. Even being a psychic policeman like myself, every once in a while I have to back up. So, you know, I'm sitting fighting evil all the time. And,
right.
you know, I am Ahura Z with my mighty Mahari sword. I shall go and slay the evil.
Right.
You know, things like that. But every once in a while I have to sit back and do something totally opposite.
Right.
Go play with a kid. You know, maybe play with my puppy, or yes, I have a puppy. Or maybe just go play a video game. Do
right.
something. You know, I
something
like walking
totally
in. And,
different from what your profession is.
yeah, you know, I like walking in and, you know, playing with my wife's hair. You know, or maybe I'll just go and, you know, bother Kazi. She's down doing hula, so I'll do it with her. You know, you've got to do something. You got to keep a sense of humor. You got to keep things light. You got to keep yourself real. Do you know what I mean?
That's some really good advice. This is an interesting question. It says, could you tell me more about divine intervention? Not going to go into the details, but on New Year's Eve, I was in a situation where shots were fired at a crowd. Then it says, for no reason, a fire truck was between us and the shooter, and it blocked the shots. The shooter was caught.
Good. You want me to explain divine intervention?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you just have an experience of divine intervention? I mean, had that fire truck not been there, what are the chances that someone would have gotten, you know, injured or even killed? Divine intervention really needs no explanation. I can tell you that it means that someone upstairs is looking out for you all. Hey, do you know that the change of the year has its own divinity to it? The change of the year is supposed to be when everything that you've done in that previous year is gone, forgiven, and you get a new chance. So what you do is you take that chance and you run with it. Do something positive. Since you someone intervened for you, that means that you have the task of being what that intervention has given you. Be the new person. You know, forget the New Year's resolutions. People never keep them. Mm-hmm. You just be you new. Understand that you came about that close to death. Mm-hmm. And you're alive. So when it comes to divine intervention, remember, it means that someone was looking out for you. Whoever you want to give that person credit for looking out for you, someone did. Mm-hmm. Now acknowledge that and do something beautiful. You have a new lease on life. Do something beautiful with that intervention. Intervene for someone else. Maybe say a prayer for all those people that are out there and homeless and cold. You know? Hope that everyone is warm and safe and has good things to eat.
That's some good advice.
You know?
This question is kind of interesting to me because I've always heard this, and I've actually read some parts in the Bible about it. It says, What is happening when Christians speak in quote-unquote tongues? Are they all possessed? Because my experience has been frightening.
You know, what they say is that they're speaking on the unction, or whatever that means, or under the auspices of the Holy Spirit. It doesn't mean that they're possessed. But I would imagine that the same principle works, since the principles work the same way. The Holy Spirit visits a person and causes a physical reaction. Now, the Holy Spirit is one of those things that you just don't question. And I look at it this way. If the Holy Spirit moves a person to speak in tongues, there's usually someone there that will be able to interpret what is being said, or someone there who knows what is being said. The Holy Spirit wouldn't just leave someone, there sounding like they're babbling without someone being there to understand. Because that's what the Holy Spirit is. The Holy Spirit is understanding. So even with your experience, understand that you don't have to be frightened. We've been so inundated with the fear of anything that is not physical by a bunch of small-minded buffoons that mix baking soda with cornmeal and call that science, just because they want to be able to control every little thing that goes on. The universe can't be controlled. It can only be understood. And even in that understanding, you have to relinquish your idea of what it was for what it is. So don't be frightened by the Holy Spirit. If anything, be very, very grateful that the Holy Spirit would visit you.
That's excellent. This is another one. This is interesting. It says, can thoughts create a network in the etheric realm, linking all of the people who think that thought?
Of course.
Can a person become become ensnared by a thought network?
Of course. Yes.
Is that kind of like being surrounded around like-minded people?
Yes,
or when
like
you all pray for a certain thing at the same time?
And the person can be ensnared, depending upon their level of non-development or development. Remember, thoughts are very powerful, and a group of people thinking the same exact thought are even more powerful. But understand that one person can subjugate many. And many can subjugate one. It just depends. If you're thinking to do harm to someone or interrupt their lifestyle based upon what your beliefs are, you're already in the wrong. But yeah, people can be ensnared. You know what we call that? If someone gets ensnared by someone else's thoughts, we call that a psychic attack.
So that's like the case, let's say somebody doesn't like you for some reason and they constantly have negative thoughts about you, that can cause that?
Oh, if you're not strong enough to withstand it or to fight it, yeah.
How about if you don't know what's going on, or even if the person doesn't realize they're doing it?
Well, the person always realizes they're doing it. I want to say this right here and now. When a person walks into a store and they decide they're going to shoplift, they know exactly what they're doing. There's no such thing as accidental shoplifting. Unless you just forgot, seriously, to pay for it, but you had the money to do it, and you were shot. Like, I remember this one story, this woman that was in with her husband, and she was pregnant, and pregnant women get hungry at the oddest times, and they were shopping. And you know what they say, never go shopping when you're hungry.
Exactly.
And she had gotten a chicken sandwich because she was feeling dizzy. And she ate the chicken sandwich, paid for all of the other groceries, but forgot to pay for the chicken sandwich. They had her arrested.
Oh my gosh.
And she was just hungry. That's different. Okay, because she said, no, I'll pay for it. I just forgot, I'm sorry. And then they just had her arrested anyway, which was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But when you walk into a store and know that you're going to shoplift, I'm going to go take this, that's not accidental. So all those people that make excuses for other people thinking bad thoughts of someone else, baloney. Okay? That's my department. What I do is I sever that particular cord and send the negativity back to the person that did it in the first place. So they suffer their own negativity. Not someone else's, their own.
That makes sense. Okay?
It's not about, people always like to make excuses, especially family. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
He really doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, yes, he did. I don't understand why he's doing all of this. He must have been brainwashed. How about he's just crazy?
Right.
I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
How about he's just a jerk?
Very true.
Accept it. It's okay. So when you get someone, and parents do this a lot, like with children, they will tell the child, if you're going to stay with me, then you have to get a job. So the kid goes to get a job. While they're working day and night trying to move out, the parent says, why don't you think of going to school? And he says, but I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
He says, look, if you're going to stay with me, you have to go to school. But you just told me if I stay with you, I have to get a job.
Right.
So what they do is they will interfere with the child's life, and they get mad at the kid because he's doing what they tell him to do,
Mm-hmm.
which causes a schism in the person's brain. So they wind up doing something abhorrent, like quitting their job, going to school, and again, remaining dependent on the parent.
Right.
So it's called enabling and disabling.
Right.
But that's a form of a psychic attack. Now, I know that there are people out there who say, well, no, I'm just being concerned. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not. No. Listen. When people focus negative energy on someone, it is not accidental. There's no portion of your head that has split off from your other head that has said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to think these things and he won't know about it. You know what you're doing. Stop it. It's real simple. Just stop it.
I can't believe the hour's almost up, and we actually have
Is it
more
really?
questions. Yes, it's 8:57.
I'm sorry. I spoke a lot.
Well,
I
maybe
talked a
you
lot.
can finish this question. It
Sure.
says, what is the difference between mind reading and thought projection?
Mind reading is when you enter into someone's head and collect their thoughts. Now, that can cause a negative reaction. Before, I had to do a demonstration, and the person wanted with a massive headache, and that's not good. You can't do that. Remember, there's a universal law that states this, that a person's mind is the greatest refuge that they have, and the only refuge that they have. You may not enter that unless it's in an emergency. Okay? Now, that demonstration I did before I was not stupid. Okay? I don't do it under any circumstances. People come and ask me, can you read my mind? And I look at them and say, why would I want to? Absolutely not. Okay? Now, if a person projects a thought at me, it's fair game.
Mm-hmm.
Projection is when that thought leaves the area of your mind and is directed towards me. That's different. But I don't like parlor tricks. When people say, can you read my mind? And I look at them and say, you're thinking tacos.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shelly. Mm-hmm. She'll look at me and she'll say, what am I? And I say, a dorkfish. It's the only answer I can come up with, caught you with a corn dog.
Yeah.
What was really funny is that I told her she was a dorkfish, and she says, there's no such thing as a dorkfish. I said, look it up. And she found one.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Listen, there's a big difference. One is intruding.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to talk a person back from a coma once. That was the instance I got permission to do the whole mind reading thing.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
So you have 60 seconds to wrap it up.
Okay. I'd like to say goodnight to all my homies. You all know who you are. There's Bears, Browns, Sires, the Burge.
Mm-hmm.
All of you that know that I love you, you know who you are. I could name you all, but I don't have my magic mirror like on Romper Room. So you know who you are. I love you all. Have a wonderful evening. All of you, be good, please. And I will see you all next week. To the rest of you, listen. Tune in to us often. You will get some wonderful surprises. We're working on several movies. I'm about to complete Project Dainavi, and we are working on Falkir. And if you want some updates about that.
Sorry. I get to ride a horse. Good.
She has a tendency to turn 13.
Yeah, I'm sorry. She mentioned horse.
I will see you all soon. I'm Ahura Z.
I'm Charlie Alejandro. Have a great evening.